Week 22. This is the Big Fuss Show with College SportsCast. The CFP Championship was last night. We are moving to basketball.
Can I please have your attention? There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
Welcome into College SportsCast. It's Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to do the Big Fuss Show.
What's up, man?
You ready for a fuss?
As cold as it is, we need something around here. It's like 8 degrees down here. It's cold.
Man, talking about cold, this weather down at the beach in the Gulf is insane. Insane what's going on.
So I have a friend, real quick, as we move on. He lives in Louisiana. They got 11 inches of snow.
Yeah.
In Louisiana.
I know. It's a blizzard.
A state that don't even have snow.
They have a blizzard warning going on right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
They got more snow than Southern Kentucky.
Yes, it's insane. Absolute insane what's going on.
Yeah.
For real, and I'm not making that up whatsoever.
No, it's crazy.
All right, guys, if you're on Facebook with us, we appreciate you. You can help support us by sending stars, or you can subscribe to our page. I do have a chat for subscribers that is just for subscribers. We also have a subscriber page that is just for subscribers. It's only 99 cents a month, and it does help us earn a little bit of money to continue to make more content for you guys. And we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our Facebook page.
I do want to say real quick before we go, what an unbelievable time we had with Big Will?
Yep, last night with our live.
With our live. Now, old John was getting a little restless. He was getting tired. I was kind of going off on the couch, getting kind of sleepy, and well, that was the first time we'd ever really done anything like that. And
yeah, we were on for nearly 4 hours last night. I know John was with us most of the time, and we appreciate that.
And I also want to say our prayers go out to Will. He sent me a message today. I'm not going to give all the details out, but he told us to tell people out there that he desires your prayers. There's some things in his life that he needs taken care of. So shout out Big Will. Hope you get better. It was an honor to be with you last night. He's a Louisville fan, actually, Brad. We talked a little bit about that last night, and
yes, but we did a live show with.
We tolerated him. We tolerated him to be a Louisville
game last night, the national championship, and we kind of narrated and commentated the game and all the plays and what was going on, and talked about the players and the coaches, and it was pretty fun to be on last night.
I mean, we tolerated a Louisville fan. You believe it?
Yeah, he's a Louisville. Here's the crazy part. He's a Louisville fan who said he likes Matt Jones of KSR.
Impressive.
Does that go together?
Maybe not.
I'm not sure that goes together.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Dave? Appreciate you being here, man. All right, guys, we are going to jump into the championship game. Actually, that's what we'll start with. It was last night. College football season is officially over, John, with last night's game. we had the first 12-team national championship game last night, and Ohio State gets the win over Notre Dame, 34-23.
Mm-hmm.
Just what's your initial thoughts on the Ohio State win?
Speed, man. Ohio State had speed. I think the lack of speed was really concerning for Notre Dame in that game. A couple of years back, Notre Dame lost in that sort of environment against Alabama, and they couldn't match Alabama's physicality. And Ohio State beat them with speed. This wasn't the same old Notre Dame, though. They
did fight back.
They did.
It looked like it was going to get ugly in about midway through the third quarter.
And what really got me was there was a few breakdowns that I thought hurt Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman going for the field goal in the fourth quarter was kind of out there. In a two-score game, Peter missed the field goal. He dunked it off the upright. If they go for it there and possibly get
you had to be there on the live last night to get that joke.
It's a whole different game. I'll be honest with you. Great House played a really good game, though. Shout out to Great House. He played with a lot of energy. First drive of the game, you're thinking, okay, well, Notre Dame goes down. They get a touchdown. They're up 7-0. You're thinking, well, this might be a really good game.
They had a great drive, 18-play drive to start the game out.
Irish, I feel like, just needed a couple more guys to match Ohio State's speed, and they just could not do it. But they performed better than they did, 12 years ago, maybe 11 against Alabama?
13 or 12. It was one of them.
My MVP of the game, though, Brad, was Judkins. He was very impactful in this game.
I thought so, too.
The Ole Miss transfer had 3 touchdowns. I think he finished with 100-plus purpose yards. His big burst after halftime, I thought, really took the sail out of Notre Dame.
So Dave is a Michigan fan, by the way, that's on with us. So I'm sure he was pulling for Notre Dame last night.
And I'm going to say this too. Ryan, you mentioned this at the end of the show. Me and you talked about it. I called you on the phone. You said Ryan Day really shuts the critics up.
That was my next topic was Ryan Day and hushing up the critics. I mean, what can you say bad about him now? John, his record overall since he's been the coach at Ohio State is 70-10.
Yep.
70-10, and now he has a national championship under his belt.
He does. I mean, he proved it all in this that he can coach in this playoff. He took the loss to Michigan personal, and I think they come out and they got down 7-0, but they never did waver.
Let me ask you a crazy question here, John. Did they take the loss to Michigan personal, or did they take the flag planting by Michigan personal?
I think
because it almost seemed like they took the flag planting personal.
I think they took it both personal. The disrespect. I think it says it all.
Dave's on with us. If he's still with us, I mean, he can chime in on that as well. But
another thing that
truly, it almost looked like the entire team and Ryan Day's comments as well, like they almost took the flag planting personal, and that's what kind of motivated them after that. I think
it did. I thought it did. Now Riley Leonard, I'm going to say this about Riley Leonard. He played his guts out. He was throwing up on the sidelines. He was beat up all night. He was getting attacked from every angle, and the kid just never quit. He stayed in there and he battled all night. I felt like he helped Notre Dame stay in the game. So props to Riley Leonard for his play. It's not just in the Ohio State game, but overall in the whole.
I mean, they won 3 games in the college football playoffs before last night and fought back. I mean, was down 24 points last night.
Yeah. And another thing, shout out Will Howard.
No, 21.
Transfer from Kansas State. He had one of the most efficient passing games in a title game history. He set a playoff record, Brad, 13 completions, I think.
Yeah.
Not throwing an interception, I think. He missed Travion Henderson on a swing pass in the first half. Judkins played really well. Jaden Greathouse on the other side.
I thought Judkins was the MVP, to be honest with you. I know Howard played good. He was 13 of 7, or he was 17 of 21, I think, overall. And he had a great start. But to be quite honest with you, if Ryan Williams don't get loose at the very end, that game, I mean, they fought all the way back and had a chance.
Well, and you look at, the fake punt was another thing that was kind of from their own 33-yard line. It was incomplete. Ohio State went down and put up a 3, which went to 31-7. The Irish wouldn't go away in this game, Brad. They forced the Buckeyes to punt. Then they went down and got a touchdown by Greathouse and got the 2. What was impressive to me was they got 2 back-to-back 2-point conversions, which is not easy to do.
No, it's not. Which brings me to my question. And John, when we were on the live last night, you questioned a few of the things that Marcus Freeman did last night. And you brought up, I mean, he kicked a field goal there that boinked off the upright that they missed when they were down 16 on a 4th and 4.
Yeah. Then they had the fake punt.
And then they had to fake punt. They also had a guy running through the formation that damn near caused a fumble. There was a few things that I thought was kind of questionable.
Just a few errors that Marcus Freeman had in this game that I wouldn't say it would have changed things, but it would have gave them a better opportunity to maybe make it reasonable and make it close and have an opportunity to win. And they
really didn't open up the playbook for Riley Leonard until halfway through the third quarter.
You want to know what's impressive too? Ryan Day becomes the 5th Ohio State coach to deliver a championship. You had Paul Brown was one, Woody Hayes, Jim Tressel, and Urban Meyer. Those names are not too shabby in the record books.
To be included.
And I think a lot of pressure is off Day now. He's come under scrutiny for losing to Michigan. There's been talk of him getting fired if he lost to Michigan again.
He has lost 3 in a row to Michigan, and I understand that. But 70-10 with a national championship,
I
think he's safe.
To win this, kind of puts that to bed at the moment.
Let me ask you this about Marcus Freeman. Does Freeman entertain the NFL?
I mean, they might be
after a run to the championship game. Does he?
I mean, they might be a few teams come after him, but I think he's settled in at Notre Dame. I think he's got a good thing going with Notre Dame. They got a good recruiting class coming in next year. I think Notre Dame is going to be right back in this same spot. I wouldn't say maybe the championship, but they're going to be in the hunt for a playoff national championship again next year.
You had the fake punt too, Josh.
And I think he's just got a really great thing going at Notre Dame. Now, if he continues this success and continues on a run that he's doing, I think there's an opportunity there that NFL teams will call him.
All right.
And I will say real quick though, Brad, before with Ryan Day, there have been talk, it's usually on X a lot of times that would Ryan Day vote for the NFL had he lost this game. And it's always possible, but after him winning this, I don't see it. I think he's got a shoot. They got $40 million out of all this. And he's got a great thing going at Ohio State.
So, John, last night was the end of the first 12-team playoff, college football playoff. Are you yay or nay on the 12-team playoff?
Yay for now. I think it's in a good spot, Brad. You got teams like Indiana that normally don't get in these situations. You had SMU get in. You have teams of the group of five that normally wouldn't get in these situations be able to play in these moments. Now, they didn't do what everybody thought they would. Everybody thought they would at least get to the second round. Actually, SMU. I thought SMU would get farther than Indiana would, but they ran into a really good Penn State team.
I actually thought Boise would win a game, to be honest.
But I think overall it's a great thing for college football. But I do think down the road they possibly could do an 18-team playoff, sort of like –
I don't like that. I
think
think 12 –
Big Will brought up a good point.
12 was perfect myself. I don't even like the idea of 14. The only thing that I like about 14 would be that there's only 2 byes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. If you go beyond 12, and 12 may not get it some years, are we talking about a bunch of 3-loss teams, maybe even a 4-loss team? I'm just not thrilled about that with college football.
Possibly, Brad. And, too,
it doesn't thrill me that we're possibly talking about a 4-loss team making the college football play.
And Big Will brought up a good point last night. He said he thought the semifinals should be the campus games. He mentioned that last night. And I think that's a good idea. But for the home field part, but I think it's at a disadvantage for the team that is playing, in that semifinal. That's the away team, because it's not a neutral, and you're not going to get as many tickets to that game. You're not going to be able to dish out the same amount of tickets.
That's why I like it in the quarterfinal round where the bye teams are waiting.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's where I like the home games.
I didn't want to say anything.
Then you're rewarding the bye teams for being the top of the game, the best teams, however you want to say it. Yeah. That's where I like it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I like the home games. I wouldn't mind seeing the first round and the quarterfinals both being at home stadiums. That way you reward the top 4 teams as well. But I like the 12-team playoff. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for a 12-team playoff, Ohio State would not be a national champion.
No, not at all.
They lost to Michigan, a second loss. They'd already lost to Oregon. They didn't even make the Big Ten championship game.
They're probably out in that.
They would have been, if it was a 4-team playoff, Ohio State would have been out. Notre Dame would have been
I think
out.
that's where it changes the game with the 12-team, because you got a team like, say, SMU that has 2 losses. Normally in a 2-loss thing, you wouldn't throw a team like that in there. And Indiana, which Indiana's undefeated, that's a different ballgame. But a team like SMU, a team like Boise State, if they lose 2 games, you're basically not putting them in.
No,
you probably have
even a team like Ohio State, when they lose 2 games, they wouldn't have got in.
All honesty, you have Notre Dame in there. who else would you have in there in the fourth team? You'd have Notre Dame. Probably Texas would be in there. Oregon would definitely be in there because they was undefeated. And then who would be the fourth team, Brad? Would it be
Coleman? I have to disagree. With them being the regular season champ here, I actually liked SMU in there more than I liked Clemson. Clemson
I didn't agree.
That did not deserve to be in.
I didn't agree with Clemson being in to begin with.
SMU was the regular season champ.
Yeah. So
I just don't like Clemson even
I think if you win your conference and you win your conference championship, I think you should be in.
Yep, I do too, especially the regular season championship.
I
don't like the idea of the regular season champ having to go play and taking the chance of getting beat. I just don't like that idea, to be honest with you, when it comes down to it. Neither team last night would have been in.
Notre Dame would have, because they had one loss. They would have probably snuck them in, if we're being fair.
I don't know, man. Penn State would have been there too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Penn State's another one. It would all depend on the losses. How they viewed some of those losses. Now, them losing to Northern Illinois might have dropped Notre Dame out. Because, if you look at the basketball side of things, bad loss in November and December dings you on Selection Sunday a lot of times.
Yep.
And the same can be said for football because football is a lot different than basketball. You can lose one or two of those games in November and make them up in January and February. Football, you lose one of those games.
The thing about SMU that Coleman was talking about, for me, I just didn't like the fact that they went through undefeated in the ACC and still had to go in and play Clemson, who, by the way, was tied with Miami and had been below them the entire season until the last game, which they lost at South Carolina. They completely backed their way in.
They did.
100%.
Yep.
All right. I am going to move on from football, and we're going to switch to basketball. John, it is about midway through the season. And we are going to talk about some mid-season college basketball awards. Going to try to run through this kind of quick because I want to do a little bit of men's and women's here. But we'll start with men's. So who would you pick as let's go with your first team All-Americans.
That's tough. I'd probably have Janai Broome, Cooper Flagg, Cam Jones would be on there from Marquette. And the guy we just watched Saturday, Mark Sears. I think Mark Sears would belong on there. I think he's the engine that drives Alabama. And my kind of sleeper, well, I wouldn't say sleeper, but my other pick would be Eric Dixon from Villanova. I think Eric Dixon's having a tremendous year this year for Villanova. And then you can't forget about just the other guys that are behind those. Keyshawn Gilbert from Iowa State would be one. Josh Hubbard from Mississippi State, which I didn't think he played really well tonight at Tennessee. Tennessee won that game, I think, by 11 or 12 points. And you got to look at Chaz Lanier. Lanier's playing at a really good level now. He didn't have a great game in the one game that we spoke on with about Rick Barnes a week ago or so. But those would be a couple of mine at the top of my list.
All right, let's switch and go to SEC right now. Who would you have as your all SEC and on your team? And I'll give you at least 6 to put on the team.
That's a tough question, Brad. I mean, Walter Clayton Jr. would be one for Florida. I think Janai Broome. Is this first team you said?
Yeah. First team, all SEC.
Kai Ziegler would be one. Wade Taylor from A&M would be one. Mark Sears would be one. And if I had to add another one to that list, it'd probably be Grant Nelson. As much hate as the guy gets,
he's played really good this year.
He's playing at a really, really good level. They beat Vanderbilt tonight. Last I looked, they was up 20-something at home. So, but I think Alabama is in that mix for the Final Four.
If I heard right, I didn't hear any Kentucky players on that list for all.
I didn't, but
first team.
If you honestly
first team, I'm just talking first team.
If you had to put one there, I think you would put either Jackson Robinson or Otega Oweh. I like Butler, but I mean, it's tough to put a guy on there that, I look at him more as a defensive guy. Now, he has improved his offensive game since coming from San Diego State. But that's a toughie, Brad. Right now, I'd probably put it as, maybe Jackson. I would throw Butler in there. Jackson Robinson, which he didn't have a really great game Saturday against Alabama. He hit a couple shots, but, but if you base it off his game against Mississippi State, when he's in a groove and in a zone, it's hard not to look at Jackson as a first-team guy.
All right, so let's switch it up, John, and let's talk about the girls' game. And I'll do it backwards from what I did with the men's here. Let's go SEC midseason first-team awards for women's college basketball.
Oh, that's tough.
I'll give you some of mine. Anissa Morrow from LSU is definitely on this list. She may be the top dog on the list, to be quite honest with you.
I think
Flau'jae Johnson from LSU and Anissa Morrow from LSU has really got to be on the list. Regan Beers from Oklahoma is one.
Mm-hmm.
Madison Booker from Texas would be one. Georgia Amore from Kentucky has to be on that list.
Well, I mean, you pretty much said every one that would be on that list. Did you say Sarah Barker from Alabama?
I didn't, but the reason why is Barker's been out for about 3 games in SEC play right now. But she is a really, really good one. And then
Malaysia Fulali would be one, maybe.
For South Carolina. Joyce Edwards might be up for freshman of the year. On the women's side, I would say it'd be Joyce Edwards for freshman of the year.
Yeah, Madison Scott from Ole Miss would be one, I think. She's playing really well for Ole Miss.
And I'll give you 2 more from Kentucky that I think will make the list. I don't know if they'll make the first team, but second team, Clara Strack and Deja Lawrence are both playing at elite levels.
They are. Now, you want me to do my overall?
So then we're going to talk about All-American first team nationally.
I can go first. Hannah Hidalgo would be one. She's probably my player of the year. Juju Watkins, Paige Buchers from UConn, Tanaya Latson from Florida State would be another. Lauren Betts from UCLA. Then you would have to put Anissa Morrow on the list too, LSU. And That's a good one. Did I say Juju Watkins?
No, I don't think you have said Juju.
I was getting ready to say Juju, and that's probably my group. But I will say this: there's some freshmen of the years that I would kind of look at, and Sarah Strong from UConn would be one.
Yep,
She's playing really good for UConn.
she is.
My coach of the year would be Corey Close, UCLA. I think what she's done with this group is just absolutely tremendous. Now, there's probably more in there. Maybe Ivy from Notre Dame would be a big nice pick. But I would have Close as probably my front runner because what she's done with that UCLA team is pretty remarkable.
I'm gonna put this up, but I'm not gonna elaborate on this.
Clara Strack.
But Clara Strack has been playing really, really good ball. And I do think I picked her preseason as a underdog to make one of the all SEC teams as a sophomore in her first season in the SEC. And so far, I think she's on track to possibly make the second team. Which is where I had her preseason. So I'm pretty happy with the way she's played. She's been a force. She had 25 and 12 in her last game. I mean, she's just been a force down low. And I'm pretty happy with the way she's played. But nationally, I mean, you're talking Lauren Betts. You're talking Juju. You're talking Hannah Hidalgo, Paige. And Anissa Morrow would probably be my 5 if I only was picking 5. Yeah. Georgia Amore is close. I think she definitely will be on the second or third team. It's just really hard to get past those 5. Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, so I didn't talk about freshman of the year. Who do you think would be freshman of the year on the men's side? Is it got to be Cooper?
It's got to be Cooper Flagg. Has to be, really. I mean, if you look at it. Now, I will say a guy that probably won't win it, but he's playing at an elite level right now is Pettiford from Auburn.
Yeah, he is.
As a freshman. He's doing some really good things there. He's in that backcourt with Auburn. They probably got 3 or 4 guys that could take over a game, plus Janai Broome whenever he comes back. So maybe Lynn McNeely, but you really can't say him much that he's been out a lot.
Olivia Miles at Notre Dame is really good, Coleman. But I would take Georgia, but Olivia Miles at Notre Dame.
I'll give you a few. Let me give you a few freshmen that I think that are really, really good right now, Brad. Asia Newell from Georgia would be one.
Yeah.
I think he's playing at a really elite level. Trey Johnson from Texas. He's been a joy to watch.
Trey Johnson at Texas.
The only thing that's really is he's putting up great numbers, but Texas as a whole is just not a great basketball team. I think they're 0-4 and 1-3, 1-4 in conference. Eric Queen would be another one from Maryland. He's a really good freshman. I love him when it comes to beating and banging in the post. Jeremiah Fierce, Oklahoma. Early on he was one of the – he led them to a 13-0 record in SEC, entering SEC. He's really, really good with the ball in his hands. He had 30 points, I think, against Michigan. He's playing really, really well. That's probably the only freshman. Maybe Chaz. No, Chaz Lanier's a senior. Dylan Harper, maybe from Rutgers, would be another one. He's got a really big talent opportunity at the next level. So some of those guys are some of my freshman guys to watch.
All right, so we're going to go on to our pick six segment here. And the first one we're going to do, John, is title contenders. And I'm going to ask men's and women's, which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the women's first because I think it kind of gives them a little bit more love, and since you cover women, and give them a little spot here.
All right, so we're going to talk about top six title contenders. We're at the mid part of the season here, and just who do you think, looking down the list of teams that could actually win the title this year, and maybe unseat South Carolina, but I think they have to be at least one of these six.
South Carolina would be one. You got to have UCLA in there. Lauren Betts, they're playing at a really big high level right now. Notre Dame, that might be the best backcourt in the country in Notre Dame.
I think it is.
They can do it all, man.
Olivia Miles and Hannah. I mean, listen, I love Georgia and Deja. They're playing great as a backcourt as well. But, man, it's hard to beat Olivia Miles and Hannah Hidalgo.
Then you would have at 4, I would probably put LSU in that mix. They're 20-0 right now. USC would be there.
Big matchup Thursday night, by the way. LSU at South Carolina.
UConn would be in there along with USC and Juju Watkins. And I'm going to throw you a curveball, Brett. I'm going to throw you a team that I think has a great chance of going to the Final Four. And there's two of them. Maryland and TCU with Haley Van Lith. I think them two. Yeah. Maryland's a really good. If you've not watched Maryland play, Maryland's a really good basketball team. TCU is too.
I will say this, John. Monday night, Maryland got trounced by Texas.
They did. But it's still January. Things can change from here to March, and I think you'll see them get better as the
TCU right now, sleepers on the girls' side, I would say TCU is definitely a sleeper. I think this Kentucky team could be a sleeper.
Yeah, I do
as well. As far as some sleepers to possibly crash the Final Four, I'm not saying they're title contenders, but to maybe crash the Final Four, I think those are a couple of sleeper teams that could possibly do it right now. But I agree with the teams you just picked: UCLA, South Carolina, Notre Dame, LSU, USC, and probably Texas.
You might could throw Texas in there too.
Probably Texas or UConn. Did I say UConn?
I don't think you did. I did.
Well, that's 7.
7.
I said 6. That's 7 that I think can actually win the title on the girls' side.
Yeah.
If you had to hold my hand to the fire, I think the title will come from one of those 7 teams.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. All right. On the men's side, John.
This is a little different because
the women's game's a little bit different because the men's game, let's be honest, you could probably name 15 teams.
Yeah. I'm going to go.
That would have a legitimate shot.
I'm going to go with probably 6, and I'm going to give you a couple of sleepers. One would be Auburn. I think Auburn's the best team in the nation. Until somebody beats them. Well, Duke did beat them, but at the level, what I'm saying as of now, I think Auburn's probably clearing ahead of everybody in the field. And here's a quick question, Brad. Would you take Auburn or the field right now?
I probably would, if you're asking me right now, I'd probably take the field. But I think Auburn is ahead of everybody else right now. I really
I do. Duke is in there. Iowa State would be a third. I'm going to tell you something about this Iowa State team. They are a different team this year. And this ain't just their defense. Their offense can score. Yeah. They can actually score now. They got a really, really good team. I can't think of the point guard's name. He's is it Nipsey? I think it's Nipsey plays for Iowa State. Then you got Keyshawn Gilbert. I think Curtis Jones plays for them as well. I think it's Curtis Jones, if I'm not butchering his name. Yeah, it's Curtis Jones. Then you got Alabama's in that mix. Florida is in that mix. Florida can really score the basketball. Now there's been some lapses. Lost to Missouri. Their defense didn't play great in a couple games, but I still think they got enough talent to reach that high level in the tournament. Tennessee's.
Let me ask you about three teams real quick. Gonzaga, UConn, and Kansas. Do any of them have a legit shot at a title?
Out of those three, probably UConn. And I say that because I don't trust Kansas in a tournament setting. Bill Self's a great coach, but it seems like every year, except what was it, that 1 year they had, that they have a great regular season and they get in the tournament, and it just seems like they falter every single time. But out of those three, I'm probably going to pick UConn. And I'm going to tell you something, Brad. I said this the other night. I don't know if it was on an X space, something. But Gonzaga is going to be that 7-10, 8-9 game that nobody is not going to want to play them in that second game.
They got a lot of talent. I don't know what's going on with them.
I don't know really what's happening with them.
I tell you what hurts them the most is they're not a real good 3-point shooting team.
They're not great. Now my other three, you can toss it up in a hat and be done with it. Houston would be one. And I'm going to tell you, Brad, I watched them Sunday. I think even though they got beat, I think Illinois might be one of the top 10 teams in the country. Kasparis, Will Riley, they're legit. Illinois, and they can play D too. And defense, like
Big
you always
T,
say.
I mean, Big Z's brother, Big T.
He travels in the tournament. And then on my outside would be Marquette. I think Marquette's got a really good team. Cam Jones leading that group. Stevie Mitchell plays really good D. My sleeper to possibly get to the Sweet 16, maybe Elite 8, I got maybe three, would be Purdue, Kentucky, Michigan State. After that, it's a crapshoot.
I'm going to be honest with you. If Dayton don't make it, I really felt like that Dayton team was a sleeper that could possibly – because we have seen runs by these little teams that get all the way to the Final Four, and I thought that Dayton team was a team that could actually maybe make a run to the Elite 8. I'm really surprised to see them kind of struggling in there.
They're just – the thing with Dayton is so inconsistent. They, got blown out. I think, what was it, St. Bonaventure maybe?
They're struggling in the 18.
Rhode Island, I can't remember the team that beat them. I think it was last week. They won tonight. They put a whooping on Duquesne. But, they're just up and down every single night, and you don't know what you're going to get with them. But those are my teams. Now, a sleeper that can maybe get to the second weekend, I would put Louisville in that regard. Louisville's playing as good as anybody right now, I think. Pat Kelsey's got them playing really well.
Did they
finish
second in the ACC?
And you know what's crazy? They are actually whipping. I mean, not even just they're demoralizing SMU right now.
Yeah.
4 minutes to go in the first half. It's 41-17 at SMU.
They're playing good. I will give it to them. They're in the top 25 for the first time in 4 years. This
Casey
week.
Kirk said L's down. Oh, JC, welcome to the show.
JC, what's up, man? He is from Kentucky.
Yeah, but overall, that's who I got, Brad.
All right, we're going to play another game, John. Over or under, okay? So I'm going to name off some stuff, and you're going to tell me if it's going to go over or under, okay? I'm going to start with SEC teams that get a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. I'm going to set it at 5. Does the SEC have more than 5, over or under 5 top 4 seeds in the March Madness?
I'm going to say that's a good question, Brad. I'm probably going to say over. I think they'll have more than 5.
You think they'll have more than 5 top 4 seeds?
I do. I think you got Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, possibly Ole Miss.
Alabama. You didn't say Alabama.
Alabama. That's what I was going to say. And then you have probably it, but possibly 6. So that would be over.
Okay.
I think Ole Miss gets the top seed when it's all said and done.
All right. Overall bids, SEC 12. Are they over or under?
Under.
You think it's under?
Yeah, I think they're going to get probably the regular 11, 12 bids that, because you look at Missouri, you got to probably think Vanderbilt, but we don't know. Vanderbilt still has some games they need to win.
Yeah.
You got Ole Miss, Kentucky, Alabama.
Right now, the ones that might be out would be South Carolina, Arkansas,
yeah, and Texas.
LSU's probably out right now.
And Texas is probably out. Well, I don't know. It just all Texas is going to have to win some games coming up to get back in that tier.
Okay, women's basketball. 2, and they already have won 2 losses for South Carolina. Over or under?
Under.
Before March Madness.
I just think they're
they've been playing. I have been kind of talking about them, but the last week and a half, 2 weeks, they have been murdering people on the floor.
Dominant. A&M, Texas.
Yes. Oklahoma.
They've controlled these games.
They killed Oklahoma, the 13th ranked team.
Joyce Edwards and Sanaya Fegan. They're, we always said that how would they respond post players wise?
Yeah.
And I think they're answering the bell, Brad.
Right now they are playing lights out.
Until somebody knocks them off.
LSU comes in, but they played all these games at home. They played Texas at home. Mm-hmm. They played Oklahoma at home. And now LSU is at home. So far, they've gotten all these big games in the SEC.
Yeah. I think it's under, Brad. I think they're going to be at least I guess they'll have 20 something and 2. I think they might lose one more game.
Okay, Kentucky women are sitting at 5-0 in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tough stretch in February. Starts late January and through February. Over or under SEC losses 4?
It's over probably. I think they lose some more. I think they lose to LSU. I think they lose to Oklahoma or South Carolina.
Texas
possibly.
at home.
That's 3, right?
Yeah. I'm saying over under 4.
It could be under. It could be under. Because if you look at their schedule coming up, they might
play Ole Miss on the road, which won't be an easy game, but maybe they should win it.
They play A&M Thursday?
Thursday night on the road,
which should be a win. Then they play Alabama coming up and Arkansas. They play Arkansas first on Sunday, but probably under. I would go under on this one. I didn't think about the schedule they had coming up compared to the endings where they're going to have some struggles because those are some really good teams.
Yeah.
LSU, Tennessee.
Yeah. South Carolina. Texas is towards the end.
That'd be a tough stretch for them.
Yeah. All right. So Kentucky men's team is setting 3-2 in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Over or under 5 SEC losses?
Probably under. I think they beat Vanderbilt Saturday. Now they've been known to win games in Knoxville, play pretty well in Knoxville at times. That's a toss-up game. They should beat Arkansas. They should beat LSU. They should beat South Carolina. There's a couple road games in there that are kind of iffy. At Missouri, at Alabama, and then they go to Ole Miss, I think, in a couple weeks. Those road games are what's going to
I actually think this one could be over. I think they could have 6.
Yeah, but I think they win. I think they win 10 SEC games though. I still think this is a really good basketball team. I just think, they just didn't hit shots Saturday. They just didn't. Alabama did, and everybody was complaining about. Well, you was telling me they was complaining. Well, we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Well, you know what? I'm happy with the loss because we played as good as we could and still got beat. And in years past, we didn't.
And Alabama's a good team. I'm not ever going to get upset by losing by a few points to a good team.
Now, do I think they're going to have struggles at Vanderbilt? Yes.
What I get upset is when we lose to teams that are really not good. So
now, the Vanderbilt game is going to be
last over or under that I want to do, and then we'll move on from this over and under. But the last one that I wanted to do is this. I want to ask you on both sides, women's team and men's team, on both sides, if I set it as a 4 seed in March Madness for each team, men's and women's, will they be over or under as a 4 seed or above?
Probably under. I think both men's and women's are probably going to be in that 1 through 4 range. Because look at it, Brad. Kentucky women have some really nice wins. Kentucky men have some really good resume wins. I talked to actually, I'm trying to get him on the show for Friday night. Made for March. the bracketologist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him on the show for Friday. He had mentioned to me today that Kentucky's elite wins are pretty elite. And he said the farthest they could possibly go down is 5.
Yeah.
They're not going to be any farther than a 5 because the committee is going to look at that Duke win on Selection Sunday, and they're going to get a lot of love for that win. That's a huge win if you look at it on a grand scale.
It is
when you look at it, and I think some of these elite wins, like the Mississippi State on the road, beating A&M, a really good team in A&M.
So you think both men's and women's will be a top 4 seed?
They will. I do. I think they will. I think the women will be close to a 2 when it's all said and done. If they could upset a couple of these teams like LSU, which I don't think they're going to beat South Carolina on the road. That's a tough place to play.
They get LSU and Texas at home.
Yeah, so that's an opportunity there. In Tennessee, that would be another good one.
Yeah.
So I think the women could possibly get in that 2-3 range. It just all depends on how they do down the stretch with those tough games that they have to kind of maneuver around.
All right. Biggest surprise team or teams. Let's go with men's first. We're at the midpoint of the season. That's why we're doing these kind of a mid-season awards. Who is your biggest surprise team on the men's side so far?
How many you want me to put? Just 1 or 2, 3,
you can
or 4?
Go 1, 2, 3, whichever, however many.
I'd go West Virginia. I think they're playing really, really well this year. They've really surprised some folks.
Javion Small.
He's playing at an elite level. Trying to think. Vanderbilt would be one.
Who Pope recruited and tried to get at Kentucky.
I think Mark Byington has really done a good job with Vanderbilt. I'm going to tell you a team that
I have to say Pat Kelsey and Louisville.
That's where I was getting ready to go next. Louisville's played really, really well. Michigan State, so Michigan State, I said it before the season started. I figured they would have a really, really good team, but I didn't think they would be this great this quick. 7-0 in Big Ten, playing really good basketball, beat a really good Illinois team Sunday. I'll give you one more, Brad, that I figured they would be good, but I didn't realize that they would run this conference, is New Mexico. Donovan Dent and that group out there out in the Mountain West, they are 16-4 and playing at an elite level right now. They're, I think, in the defense efficiency, they're in Ken Palm, they're 32nd. In offense, they're 88. Yeah, but still, that's kind of low and high.
They've been playing in the Mountain West out there, and the Mountain West is a lot weaker this year.
It is. San Diego State ain't as good as they was last year.
Yep.
So
Nevada is not quite as good.
Nevada is not as great, which I thought Nevada would be really good. They was kind of my sleeper, and they're 11-7, not having the greatest year this year. So those are my surprise teams.
On the women's side, I'm going to say TCU.
Yeah,
so far,
I think TCU would be one.
I know they're in the top 10 now, but they started way outside of the top 10.
I would even go venture say Kentucky, because nobody really knew what Kentucky was going to do. You had a bunch of new girls come in, and Georgia Amore, Clara Stratt. You didn't really know what you was going to get with them, and they're sitting at 16-1, undefeated in conference play, and playing for a high seed in the tournament. Like, I'm going to tell you, if you did not watch the Vanderbilt Alabama game tonight, they did a little promo, where they show people playing on the next night those nights. They do like a little promo thing, and they was giving Kenny Brooks a lot of love, saying that he took Virginia Tech to the Final Four.
Yep.
And the way he's handling things in Lexington is absolutely incredible. And I thought that was a nice little snippet of even the men's side are noticing that stuff, the announcers.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty neat for them to get a little love on the SEC network tonight.
I mean, they're sitting at 16-1, 11th in the country. I think TCU is right there at 9 or 10, right in front of them. So, I mean, both of those teams have come, pretty far up. And TCU's like 19 and 0. No, they did lose one.
I'll give you another team, Brad. How about Purdue? They lost Zach Edey. A lot of people
on the men's side, yes.
On the men's side, I didn't
confuse me for a minute. I thought you were talking about the girls.
The men's side, they lost Zach Edey.
Yeah.
Now they did get Braden Smith back, but a lot of people didn't think Purdue would be as, up in the upper echelon this year. Especially with losing Edey to the NBA. They've done a really, really good job. They're 15-4. They're in the hunt for the Big Ten still. Now, Michigan State seems like they're running away with it at this point. But we'll see coming up in the next couple of weeks how that all boils down to the Big Ten. Because I think in the Big Ten, you got maybe 2 or 3 teams, and then it's a crapshoot after that. Michigan's been surprising. With Danny Wolf, I think they played really, really well this year. Now, they did have that game against Minnesota that kind of – which they lost on a buzzer beater shot on almost half court. It was kind of one of those games, one of those games. But but I think Michigan with the coach from FAU, I can't think of his name to save my life.
Dusty
May. I think he's done a really good job there as well.
Yeah. And on the women's side, actually, Michigan and Michigan State both have got pretty good teams on the women's side as well in the Big Ten this year.
I agree with you.
Yeah, they're kind of surprise teams in the Big Ten.
So, are you going to do with disappointments now?
I didn't put that on here, but we can. Do you have a disappointment team?
Do I have to say anything else? Because
we're all
on
there. Yeah.
I know
who you're talking about. Yeah, Arkansas.
The thing I say about that real quick is they pumped their chest all summer about how they was going to be really, really good.
I don't really think that came from the team. I think that came from the fans.
That was the fans, a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you real quick, Brad, that has been really disappointing for me has been there's actually 2 teams, and it's Gonzaga and Indiana. Mike Woodson. Now, he did pick up a good win the other night, but Indiana has been very disappointing to me.
Well, if you want to talk about – I'll get this off real quick. If you want to talk about disappointments on the men's side, I think you got to look at North Carolina.
Yeah.
Arizona, the way they started the season, they seem like they are coming on now.
They're picking it up, yeah.
They are picking it up now, but the way they started the season was horrible.
Ohio State would be another one. I thought they would be better than what many thought they would be. I'll tell you another one I thought was going to be really good, and they just haven't done much, is Xavier. I thought Xavier would be better.
In Xavier's defense, they did have some injuries.
They did. They had some injuries come up, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right, underdogs, who you think could make a little noise in March Madness?
Oh, boy, that's a good question, Brad.
I told you Dayton. If they can make it, I think this Dayton team, but they're going to have a little work to do because they didn't start out too well in the A10. After looking like a Final Four team in the, what was it, Maui they were in? I mean, honestly, they looked lights out there, beating UConn, lost 1 point or something to North Carolina, which they should have won. The refs
Stephen Decker made a good point. Miami was another big disappointment this year.
Yeah.
I thought they would be better but they did lose some guys. Miami did.
They did.
I got two, Brad. You're gonna like these. Louisville's
right.
one. Louisville's one of them.
Okay, that's a good one, I think.
And the second one is Missouri. I think Missouri.
Boy, Dennis Gates. Let's talk about them for just a second here, man. They went 0-18 last year in the SEC.
Yep.
Then they turned around and lost the first SEC game this year. So they lost 19 consecutive SEC games.
Sure did.
And then all of a sudden they've won 4 in a row and beat some really good teams.
Yep, they have.
It's kind of remarkable.
I'm going to give you a few mid-majors to watch. I know you like the whole mid-major stuff. UC
That's
Irvine.
kind of where I was going with this one is some of the mid-majors.
UC Irvine would be one out in the Big West. I think they're really, really good. Another team to watch would be George Mason. They're playing really, really well. I'll even go as far as say that St. John, which St. John's ain't a mid-major, but I think St. John's could make some noise.
Yeah.
As a 7 or 10 seed.
Right. I'll give you that for them.
And then I'll give you another one that I think they've gotten really good since we played them as Lipscomb. They are a quad 2 win.
Okay, Steven, you got to get out of here with that. Okay. They're the 2-time champs. Come on.
Yeah, but they're struggling this year, though, Brad.
There ain't no underdog. Come on, man.
I'll tell you another team that I think that people are kind of overlooking, and that's Utah State. Now, I know they got beat the other night, but Utah State is one of those teams you probably wouldn't want to have a one-game runoff with. They got some really good shooters. New Mexico would be one in the tournament.
Yeah.
So still
on the
long
women's side, I'm gonna give you at least Grand Canyon is a team on the women's side, has a really good coach out there. Holly Miller is her name. She's doing a fantastic job. She is going to be at a major college in the near future. She is a fantastic coach. And as far as a mid-major that I know of that could make some noise, that's one team in March that I think could make some noise is Grand Canyon on the
Ball State. Ball State's another one. They got a really good shooter for Ball State. I made a post about it the other night. Can't think of her name. I think she leads the MAC. Allie Becky. She's really, really good for them. Iowa State's a team to watch. They're really, really good with Crooks.
Yeah.
And I'll give you one more. It's James Madison. James
Madison's got
they got a really good team.
Got a good team as well.
Yeah, they're
on the women's side.
Now I will say Gonzaga's team is playing really well this year as well.
They got a good coach on the women's side. They made a little noise last year. If I'm not mistaken, I think they made the Sweet 16 last year.
They did.
Gonzaga, the girls did. The women's team did.
And I'll give you one more, Brad, just for little extra is Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech can make a little noise in the tournament. They got a pretty good team as well.
They do.
So
they do for sure.
You want me to run down the scoreboard tonight since we're?
Yeah, if you want to, because we're fixing to wrap this up. That was actually my last topic of the night.
Yeah, we usually do a scoreboard. All right, these are final games. Northern Iowa beat Missouri State 79-68. Illinois State beat Indiana State 85-81. Marquette beat Seton Hall 76-59. What a down from fall from grace Seton Hall has went. I mean, that's we'll talk about that later on in the year. Iowa State 108, UCF 83. Bradley wins again at Belmont 89. That's another team that I forgot to mention was Bradley. Bradley's having an outstanding year this year in the MVC. They're a team to watch in that conference. AB 81, UTSA 78. Ohio State goes on the road to Mackey Arena and knocks off Purdue tonight. That's 73-70.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Western Michigan beat Northern Illinois. Let's see here.
Check out the Real Fresh channel on YouTube and us on WSB and TV channel 30.
Virginia beat Boston College 74-56. Kent State beat Toledo 83-64. George Mason beat St. Bonaventure 75-62. VCU beat Rhode Island 81-57. Miami of Ohio beat Bowling Green 84-76. Dayton beat Duquesne 82-62. St. Joe's beat Davidson 78-61. Ball State beat Central Michigan 82-80. Akron beat Buffalo 90-58. Texas Tech beat Cincinnati 81-71.
Louisville is ahead of SMU 50-27 at halftime.
That's what I said. It's been documented. Tennessee 68, Mississippi State 56. Connecticut wins in overtime over Butler 80-78. UConn's struggling, my man. There's some key areas there where they're going to need to get fixed if they're going to have a three-peat. Alabama 103, Vanderbilt 87. Diabate had 22 tonight for Alabama. He wasn't a key factor Saturday, but he was tonight. He played really, really well tonight. Eastern Michigan 94, Ohio 87. Currently going. East Carolina 81, Tulsa 74, OT 45 seconds. Tennessee State 61, Tennessee Martin 60, 6 minutes left. Wake Forest trails North Carolina by 2 at half, 31-29. Arizona leads Oklahoma State 43-30 Oklahoma State 43-39 at half. Creighton leads DePaul 39-23, almost minutes into the second half. Texas leads Missouri at halftime 32-25 in Texas. Minnesota leads Iowa 48-36, 11 minutes to go in the second half. Louisville, like you said, is up 50-27 at halftime. And Arizona State leads West Virginia in the second half 31-23, just started. And then you got Wisconsin leading UCLA at the half 41-36. And then the late games are BYU, Colorado, Wyoming, UNLV, and Washington and Oregon. And that's your catch up with the college basketball scoreboard tonight.
All right. That sounds good, man. I've got, you said, you was talking about UConn, and you was talking about if they're going to have a chance to three-peat. And this made me think of something that I've seen recently, and I'm going to do a little did you know. Okay? I'm going to end the show on a little did you know. The term three-peat was actually trademarked by Pat Riley when he was the Lakers head coach in 1988. So much so that he got a patent on the phrase three-peat. Okay? And when the Chicago Bulls in the early 90s, 91, 92, 93, when they actually did their three-peat, did you know that the Chicago Bulls actually had to pay Pat Riley $300,000 to use the term three-peat. Just saying. I thought it was pretty interesting.
It is.
They had to pay Pat Riley $300,000, who was an NBA coach at the time, by the way, to use the term three-peat when the Chicago Bulls done it in 92, 91, 92, 93.
Some key games of note, Brad, tomorrow evening. I'll just do SEC real quick. Florida goes to South Carolina. A&M goes to Ole Miss. And Georgia goes to Arkansas. And Arkansas is a 2-point favorite in this game, by the way. And I'm very surprised that they are a 2-point favorite.
SEC women's. Thursday night, Kentucky travels to Texas A&M. Maryland plays number 12 Ohio State at Ohio State. That should be a big game. It's 8 versus 12. The big game of the night is LSU and South Carolina on Thursday night. That is on ESPN at 7 o'clock Central Time.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 versus number 2. So catch that one. And then on SEC Network at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, you got number 17, the Tennessee Lady Vols travels to Texas to take on Madison Booker, Roy Harmon, and the Texas Longhorns, who are number 7. So
I was going to tell you, Friday night,
of really good matchups.
Friday night should be a lot of fun. And I say that because there's some really good games on Saturday this weekend. Tennessee travels to Auburn. Game day will be there. That's probably going to be our game day pick.
Yeah,
the big game of the night. Auburn welcomes Tennessee in a tussle. So that'd probably be our big main game.
Yep.
Because game day is going to be there, which that should be an interesting game. This might be Auburn's first big test that they'll have coming up, and we'll see
especially in the SEC
how they respond. Kansas Houston plays this weekend. That should be a fun game. Kentucky Vanderbilt play. A lot of good games on this weekend.
All right, guys, we will see you Friday night for our game day pick'ems. This has been the Big Fuss here with College SportsCast and with Stadium Rant. I do want to make sure that I do mention that it was up on the intro when I did the intro, but I will put that up here at the end.
There it is.
We are with Stadium Rant now. We are
going to have to remind you. I'll have to remind you every show to put that up there.
Yeah, but I'll put it up here at the end. And we are riding with Stadium Rant, so check out our articles as well. And we appreciate you guys. We will see you for Friday night's Game Day Pick'em show.
And we might have a guest. We might have a guest. I don't know yet. I'm trying to.
Y'all have a good week, and we will see you Friday night.
Have a good one.
Stay warm, by the way, somehow.
Yeah, some way.
Can I please have your attention? There's all a commotion around here.
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.